F9, the 10th Fast and Furious movie released a couple months ago. I finally got a chance to watch through all of the Fast and Furious movies, so today it's time to rank all 10 Fast and Furious movies from the worst to the best. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Gabriel and I love to rank movies. If you can relate, consider hitting that subscribe button. And please know that this list is just my opinion, but I would love to see yours down in the comment section. But with that said, let's get started. Easily in last place is Too Fast, Too Furious. This movie is really bad. Not nearly as fun as the first Fast and Furious film, which makes it even worse because the first was bad even while being fun. Excluding Vin Diesel was a bad choice, and the action was shot horribly in this. The cinematography, green screen, and any CGI looked so bad, and this franchise was just not off to a good start. Paul Walker is okay, I guess, but all of the other actors were either really mediocre to horrible. There were also some really unnecessary scenes that don't serve any purpose to the film's story, too. There's one scene that is so genuinely bad, I said out loud to myself, that is so unbelievably stupid. I think the only thing not bad about this is its pretty decent title. The rest is just plain horrible. Number 9 is The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. At this point, the Fast saga was starting to become one of my least favorite franchises ever. Even though I still strongly dislike this movie with a passion, it somehow isn't the worst in the franchise. Going into this, I was worried I wasn't going to like how Paul Walker wasn't in it, but honestly, that didn't bother me. I probably would like it more if Paul Walker was in the lead role, but it was fine. I was also worried that I wouldn't like the Tokyo setting compared to the America setting, but that honestly wasn't as much of a distraction as I thought it might be. I definitely do like the American setting better, but Tokyo wasn't a bad place to take it. This was probably the most entertaining Fast and Furious film of the first 4, but I still had so many problems. The first hour was really entertaining, except the last 45 minutes were really boring and uninteresting in my opinion. The cinematography, once again, is horrible, the acting is pretty bad, the script is really questionable sometimes, and none of the characters were really likable besides the dad. I liked him. This movie didn't feel like as much of a Fast and Furious film too. It did have some occasional street races, but some of it didn't have anything to do with cars or racing. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift is a really bad movie, yet somehow still not even the worst of the franchise. What does that say about Fast and Furious films? Coming in 8th place is the original The Fast and the Furious. This is a super cheesy and dumb movie that is simply made to entertain, and that's it. This franchise gets even dumber, and after watching this, I didn't know whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing, but thankfully, as it moved along, it got a lot better. The soundtrack was super obnoxious, and some of the acting was dreadful, but I guess that's the early 2000s for you. It's sad that my 800th film was bad, but at least the franchise got better. This is exactly how I expected it to be. Dumb, enjoyable, corny, fun, and not very good of a film. And not a film I want to watch again, just because of its blandness during most of the time. Next up in 7th place is Fast and Furious. I like the direction this film was taking, how it's slowly swaying away from the street racing and turning more into a franchise about spies. That made for a more entertaining film in my opinion that easily had the best special effects, cinematography, and action of the first 4 films. But it's still kind of bad. I definitely enjoyed it, and I did really like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker in their roles, but it was still pretty okay. It was dumb like seriously every other film in this franchise, which at this point I don't know whether I should count as a negative or not. The characters besides Dom and Brian were extremely forgettable, bland, etc., and I wasn't fully invested in the story. It's a story we've seen play out before in other films, just in different ways. It doesn't feel unique, and it doesn't feel like a film that is trying to do something new, and that bothered me. I wish I could say otherwise, but this movie is pretty bad. Number 6 is Fast and Furious 6. And this is where I actually start talking positively about the Fast and Furious movies. The amount of dumb stuff in this movie, even compared to the previous films in this franchise, is crazy, but the action was just so unbelievably entertaining and enjoyable. The script was pretty okay in this film, and this is probably the most forgettable Fast film. I remember the other films for some specific reasons, but this, I don't really know. It was kind of bland. It's literally the exact same movie as the fourth and fifth, except for it has a couple different characters and plot. Because of this, I feel like I'm just going to be repeating myself since talking about the others, so I'm just going to leave it at this and just say it was pretty good. Number 5 is Fast 5. I genuinely enjoyed Fast 5, especially compared to the first 4 films in the franchise. I love the inclusion of Dwayne Johnson, and this film actually made me kind of like some of the characters I hated in the previous films. Roman was a character I despised in Too Fast, Too Furious, but I actually kind of loved his character in this. It's not amazing writing, but it was a pretty funny character. Of course, Dom and Brian were good in the first films, but some of the side characters were definitely made better. The action was really good and exciting, and this film easily has much better comedy than its predecessors. The acting was honestly really good, and I was really glad that this movie featured little to no street racing, and mostly focused on heists and stuff like that, which I thought was really entertaining. I don't know how out of nowhere after 4 really bad films this happened, but I actually thought it was pretty good. In 4th place is F9. This franchise seriously got wild and crazy. It went from street racing to cars in space, like what the heck? Anyways, F9 was a pretty good Fast and Furious movie. Actually, I take that back. It's not a good movie at all. It's just scarily entertaining, and I shouldn't have enjoyed it this much. I shouldn't have enjoyed all of the newer Fast and Furious films this much, but the action in them is just so intentionally over the top. It is so enjoyable, and I can't get over it. But enjoyment isn't the only thing that I put into question when thinking about my opinions about movies. I also think about the acting, story, etc. The story to this isn't good at all. Like I said, cars go to space and they pull cars using big magnets, but the acting was pretty decent. Vin Diesel and John Cena playing brothers in a Fast and Furious film is absolutely crazy, but if we had Dwayne Johnson in it, I don't know why he isn't, that would just be a match made in heaven. I really wonder what these latest couple films would have been like if Paul Walker hadn't tragically passed away, but that is something we'll sadly never see. F9 is an unbelievable action film, but I liked it quite a bit. Winning the bronze medal is The Fate of the Furious. This is one of the best Fast films, but also one of the dumbest and one of the most simple action movies that makes no sense whatsoever. And when it comes to Fast and Furious films, that is 100% a good thing. I definitely did not like how Dominic Toretto was supposed to be a bad guy and was supposed to have gone rogue, but that's like the entire plot of this movie, and I still liked it, so it wasn't that bad. Dwayne Johnson gave one of his best performances he has given in the entire Fast franchise in this, and this is also one of the funniest Fast films. Hobbs & Shaw is a bit funnier, but I'll get to that later. This movie wasn't necessary at all, shouldn't have been made, and kind of disrespectful to Paul Walker. They ended Fury 7 so well, and at the same time being respectful to Paul Walker, and yet they continued to make these movies. That seems dumb to me, but this whole franchise is dumb. This is just a stupid, fun, entertaining time, and a good entry into this franchise, I guess. My runner-up is Hobbs & Shaw. Without a doubt, the greatest thing about this film is its fantastic cast. Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Ryan Reynolds, and Kevin Hart. That's just an insane cast. Kevin Hart and Ryan Reynolds weren't in it for long, but when they were, it was really, really great and made some of my favorite scenes. I didn't know at all that they would be in it, and I was so pleasantly surprised. From the marketing, this looked like it was going to be my favorite Fast film, but honestly, it wasn't, as you can see. It did have some really funny moments. The banter between The Rock and Jason Statham was very funny, and the action was well done in this film, but it actually did go for a bit long. It felt like it just kept going sometimes, but it did pick back up with its great action and flashy editing. Another thing I wasn't the biggest fan of is that this basically has nothing to do with cars whatsoever, and it barely has any relation to the other films in the Fast saga besides its lead characters. Idris Elba's villain also for some reason reminded me of Black Manta and Aquaman. Don't ask me why, he just did. While this movie was kind of disappointing because on the surface level it seems like something I would really love, it was still a very good film. Also, is it bad that my favorite scene out of the entire film was the mid-credits scene with Ryan Reynolds? It was absolutely hilarious and easily the funniest moment in this franchise. But in first place is Furious 7. Perfect send-off for Paul Walker and his character. It's so sad that Paul Walker passed away in a car accident before this movie was released, but I definitely think they sent him off in a respectful way. I think that this was easily the most emotional in the franchise due to that, and this was the one where I was most invested in the characters. The action was some of the best in the franchise, and this is easily the most enjoyable film in the franchise. I'm going to be honest, this is the first great Fast and Furious film, and the first one that I actually kind of loved. Didn't expect to say that after seeing the first 4 films. The acting was so cheesy and over the top in this one, but it works so well because the whole franchise is over the top. The action is so unbelievable but great. I really liked the connections to Tokyo Drift in this, and seeing this actually makes me like Tokyo Drift a tiny bit more. Just a tiny bit, not much at all. I wish this was the final film in the franchise because of how great it was and how amazing the ending was. Not gonna lie, I probably would have cried if the first 4 films were better, because then I would have been even more attached to the character Brian O'Connor. This has one of the most heartbreaking endings in history, just knowing that Paul Walker passed away in real life. Easily my favorite Fast film, and a film I will definitely rewatch in the future, unlike the first 4 films.